And they did. And we'll be joined from the conference floor this morning by a leading member of the Labor's left, the Minister for Human Services, Tanya Plibersek. But right now, the political editor for the 7:30 report, Chris Uhlmann, will bring us right up to date with all the developments. Chris, good morning. It was, I guess, a split decision. Summed up by one cartoonist, had the Prime Minister saying to the gay community, yes, you can't. It was probably that confusing. What did you make of it?
Oh, well, certainly, Barry, it was a passionate debate and it was held with a real air of respect for each other's sides. The party is deeply divided on this, but Rainbow Labor, if you were here last time in 2009, really the only thing that happened at that conference was right at the end when there was a big gathering here and people professed the fact that they were going to go forward to the next conference and make change. And clearly the floor of the conference yesterday was with those who wanted change on this particular issue. I felt that the Prime Minister's speech on that was actually pretty flat and out of step. One of the things that she realises, though, is that there is a concern, and a very real concern, that the Coalition will make an issue out of the fact that although the population may well be, because of opinion polls, in favour of this sort of change, it doesn't really line up with key concerns of people. And what she tried to do in her speech yesterday was to tick off some of those key concerns on jobs and on growth and those sorts of things. This debate, of course, now continues. Barry, Stephen Jones, a member of the Labor Party, will take this to the floor of Parliament, so it will run on for some time yet. So a debate, which was a fascinating one yesterday, will continue into next year and perhaps will be a little bit of a problem for the Labor Party in the sense that although this is a big issue for its base, it may not necessarily line up with those of the greater community, and particularly in places like Queensland. And there were ministers yesterday warning about the fact that, well, you know, this could cost us seats in Queensland.
And what about asylum seekers? That did seem to be a particularly controlled debate, given that there must be quite a level of disappointment among a lot of the delegates about offshore processing.
A big difference here, I think, between the leadership of the Labor Party and the party base on this one, and certainly, even though it was a more contained debate, it was a very passionate one about it. And what we've seen in the Labor Party platform now is quite an historic change, and that is that it has enshrined in its platform the idea of offshore processing. That's the architecture of John Howard, which the Labor Party railed against for so long, is now in the Labor Party's platform. Of course, it also too said that they have an aspiration of increasing the refugee intake to 20,000. That is only an aspiration at this stage. But of course, none of those things are actually possible at this stage, and this is where we disconnect reality from what's actually reality from what's in the party platform, because although there might be an aspiration to have offshore processing, it can't be done at the moment, it can't be got through Parliament. There's an aspiration for 20,000 people more refugees, or 20,000 as the cap on refugees. That's a lift from 13,000. None of those things is going to be realised at the moment, and I think the way that this has sorted itself out has left a large part of the Labor Party space pretty uncomfortable.
And what about uranium sales to India? How will that go?
That's the debate today, and it's likely that the right will get its way on this and the Prime Minister will get her way on this, and that the way will be cleared for uranium sales to India. Again, a lot of disquiet on that front, although on this one I think that it's catching up with reality to a certain extent with the party. It is an anachronism. There are sales of uranium to India, even though it's not a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Australia in other forums has supported those sales. So, and it's really been a hindrance to Australia's relationship with India, and there are senior members of the party here who realise that with the rise of Asia also comes the rise of India, and India will be very important in future and as a strategic counterbalance to China. So it's been a hindrance to that relationship with India, and that should be sorted out today.
And just finally, Chris, from the cheap seats, what are you seeing in the Labor Party? Is there a pulse?
I think there is a pulse. I mean, if people were looking to this conference for proof of life, there certainly is life in the Labor Party. It understands that it does need to regenerate and reconnect with the community, and to find a way to get more members of the community to join the Labor Party rather than to lead it. People get energised here clearly by policy, and one of the problems that the party has is that once you join the party, you don't really have a say in policy anymore. So they're trying to do something about that. But I will say one thing, Barry. The thing that struck me about this conference is the Prime Minister's speeches, which should have been serious, big set-piece events. They tried at that. They seem to have fallen quite flat. And if the Prime Minister can't connect with her own party, she'll have a hard time connecting with the community whenever a general election is held. And I don't think that We Are Us is going to be the Yes We Can of 2012.
Chris Uhlmann, thank you. Chris Uhlmann there, co-host of 7:30.